Hey y'all, I hope you're having a good Friday morning. I am going through, this is page 7 in the archives. Hold on, let me see where my, so page 7 here of the National Archives. Let me see, where is this? Where was I at? Oh, maybe it's the last page here. Okay, that's fine. We can go through this one. It says secret, and then this is January of 73, restricted handling, Del Es Salaam. I guess that's for site. And then 1144, headquarters info in Nairobi, eyes only, Mastrom. And then whatever these little codes are, MH Chaos, which is kind of like the book by Tom O'Neill, but I don't know if that's really what it is. It's somebody's code name, I'm sure. It says Dar es Salaam, and this is January 1973, headquarters, and then June 6th of 72, Nairobi, at January 19th of 73, headquarters, April 7th of 72, Nairobi, and then this is May 1st of 72. And then whatever these are, not sent, Nairobi, March of 72, headquarters, not sent, January 2nd, 1973. This has full pages of stuff. It says return to CIA, background use only, do not reproduce. It says, I guess this is how they do the code names is OP Owl /1 departed Dar for Nairobi on the 30th of January in 3 meetings during 9-day TDY. I don't know what that is. OP Owl /1 approved following new data. Pete O'Neill, that would be the Black Panther Party leader, because we saw that in something else earlier. Continues very low profile, has been visited on several occasions by Fred Johnson, once exchanged visits with Shooby Doo. What? From John Manning, OPL /1, learned O'Neill, now residing in first floor rear flat of building G in new apartment complex in South Dar es Salaam. Approximate location coordinates 30 of 40 on series Y941, edition 3, AMS map are Dar es Salaam. Okay. And then south. Lives with wife Charlotte and 2 unidentified BPP members. An apartment allocated mainly to unidentified Chinese advisors. Manning stated that O'Neill originally obtained flat number 7 in building F adjacent to present residence from subject. Reference B. Let's see. Leonard Dillon. Dillon recently departed with only $20 in his possession for Zambia. John Manning was unable to carry out REFC trip to Uganda. Apparently was stopped at Ugandan border by military guards and advised he would need in or LN fall document requesting an entry. The ultimate humiliation, according to Manning. Manning's intention was to see Idi Amin, isn't that one of those leaders? And suggest economic liaison with Black Muslims in U.S. His most recent attempt to contact Ugandan leader was letter written during week of 22nd of January to, I want to look that up, recommending the character of his friend Joseph Fatman Brown in support of Brown's forthcoming residence request. It isn't clear whether this is a direct result of notification of Tanzanian authorities and Brown of revocation of Brown's U.S. passport several days earlier or some other reason. However, in all, OPL 1 elicitation, what? Oh, elicitation, excuse me, of info, I can't read, on Ugandan contacts of Dar MH Chaos community there. No indication any connection with PLO intentions to contact BJ Ack, I guess. American radicals reported in, I guess that would be Auckland. I don't know. And then Kampala. OPL 1 contacted Roosevelt Brown, subject reference D, TN 24 of January, for a short conversation, which Brown stated he had just come down from Nairobi. According to IR Harty 1, Roosevelt Brown attempted to renew outdated excursion air ticket that same day, but when renewal was approved, was informed Brown had returned to Nairobi on the 26th of January. On way to rally protesting Page, I guess, leader Cabral's assassination, OPL spotted Lynn, Prince Henry Evans, aka Frederick Rollins, subject reference E. Evans currently subject of NVIDIA, regional security officer investigation during DART TDY. On visit to Pan African Skills or PAS office, OPL met Fred Brooks and Malik Chaka, subject reference F. Latter was in midst frenetic activity producing statements from PAS for demonstration at TANU HQ's denouncing Cabral's assassination. Cabral? I don't know. During visits to PAS office, OPL performed initial technical survey, floor plan and notes being forwarded by dispatch. Exemplar electric outlets no longer obtainable locally. However, OPL/1 believes he can get them in Nairobi for forwarding WO lock. It says OW or OPL1 determined that George Rice, aka George Matthews, subject reference G, was released by Tanzanian authorities several weeks ago, despite Ellen Fall impression government still pursuing initial extradition offer. Explanation given to OPL1 by Manning and Brooks for original detention of Rice was that Tanzanians had mistaken Rice for hijacker George Edward Wright, MFA, and indicated to Ellen Fall when suggesting extradition that they believed Rice to be hijacker Wright based on newspaper photos of Delta hijackers. Irony of whole situation is that Wright, aka Larry Darnell Burgess, was in Dar es Salaam at time of Rice detention, according to several OPL1 sources. Curtis Powell, subject reference H, currently resides in the same area but not same building as Pete O'Neill. OPL and Manning drove Powell to airport on weekend 27th of January for a trip to Nairobi. Both OPL and Manning had to portion Garwell to pay airport tax. And no file. And then whatever these codes are. And this was a secret document. So let's go to this thing. I'm going to see if I can read this. It looks illegible, but maybe not. Okay. This is JD Lavery. And then via A Adana. Classification of EX 3600. It says RE your request for a couple of sentences of factual data as to why this document is classified. Here they are. Ex post facto, since I was not associated with Operation MH Chaos during its existence, I can only offer the following reasonable surmise. As we now know, during its tenure, MH Chaos was one of the most sensitive operations conducted under DDP aegis. repeatedly sanctioned in writing by the DCI. The activity was deemed so sensitive that it was controlled by and through extremely restricted handling channels. I think it follows logically, at least in my view, that any document produced by MH Chaos, whether a formal or informal one, would have been classified at least secret. Does the information in this document warrant classification today? I think it does, and I believe the current classification of confidential is proper. Uh, reading through reading pages 2 through 12 carefully, it is readily apparent that some of the information on some of these pages was seemingly acquired from or through sensitive sources and methods. Also, these pages contain frequent mention of FBI information concerning many of the peace movement groups, organizations, it cited. FBI reports received by MH Chaos were invariably classified, for the most part confidential. What should be the proper FOIA exemption for EX 3600 in my view? B3. And then P. Hafner. This was April 7th of 1977. And there's nothing like attached with that. That's kind of interesting because we saw that MH Chaos thing. So this is one of 2 pages. It says restrictive handling, classified message, secret. Let's see. Do not exceed 69 typewriter characters per line. Okay, including spaces. This is Vientiane, eyes only. I don't know what these are. Info, Paris, eyes only. Demolat. I don't know. Paris, 2592, not exceeding or not needed. Vientiane, and its site headquarters. This is July 5th of 1972. It says FYI only, highly sensitive sources reports that trade union representatives James Hoffa, Harold Gibbons, and William Taub have been invited to visit DRV for 1 week, leaving US either the 1st or the 4th of July, and intend to pick up visas in Vientiane or Paris per HQ's 7356, not sent to Paris. Gibbons International Vice President Teamsters Union, and traveled DRV, I guess, March of 72. No identifiable info on Taub, and Hoffa is well known. In that Jimmy Hoffa desire no spatial coverage trade union group, and no request to liaison, but would appreciate any pertinent MH Chaos related info, which comes to the station's attention. EX2, whatever these AP director, I guess, and then end of the message, and then who are these people? But MH Chaos again, so you see that. And then this is one of one. It says Chief of Base in Washington, peace demonstrations. It says Director 39871, enclosed for headquarters information are copies of literature mailed by the Catholic Association for International Peace to its members, attachments 1, 2, and 3 concerning negotiation now. Also enclosed as a possible interest are copies of CAIP materials, attachment 3, 4, and 5, concerning its 40th annual conference scheduled for October 27th through 29th, the theme of which is selective conscientious objection in an age of conflict. The conference is to be held at Dunbarton College of Holy Cross, 2935 Upton Street, Northwest, Washington, D.C. The above items were received by Oliver H. Harbiston, who had joined the CAIP for cover purposes in the course of a previous assignment. Attachments 1, 2, and 3 are forwarded in response to the reference. And Oliver H. Harbiston, the attachment as stated, of course, we don't see the attachments on here. And then let's see what we got here. This is one of two. It says secret, no foreign dissemination, and no dissemination abroad. So this is March 6, 1973. Travel from Algiers. Remember, we looked at that yesterday, and some of these names may be uh, the same. It says return to CIA, background use only, do not reproduce. It says a sensitive and reliable source reported on 26th of February 1973 that the travel documents teach us the voyage uh, requested from the Algerian government by William Holder, subject of your New York field officer file 164694, are intended for Holder himself, Melvin McNair, Bureau file number 157-26560, Gene McNair, Bureau file number 157-26561, Larry Burgess, also known as George Edward Wright, Bureau file number 157-26562, George Burgess, Bureau file number 157-26563, George Brown, Bureau file number 157-26564, Jean Catherine Kirkow, subject of your New York field office file 164694, and Eldridge Cleaver. Sources speculate that Cleaver's name was included with the others desiring travel documents in order to convince certain Algerian authorities that Cleaver, who departed in early February 1973, was still in Algiers. Although source does not know when the documents will be issued, he believes that the government will do so. Both Melvin McNair and George Brown were arrested by the Algerian police in separate charges of separate charges of possession of handguns. Brown was found to be carrying a loaded revolver, and McNair had given an Algerian youth two pistols for safekeeping. One of the pistols was of a Chinese manufacturer. Neither Brown nor McNair were kept under arrest for any length of time, and source has been unable to provide any additional information regarding the destination of above mentioned individuals. And then weird. Hold on. Date impossible to determine. Okay. And then it says we are checking further abroad and will provide your bureau with any additional pertinent information obtained. The above information is being made available to your bureau in response to your request for information on the activities of the Cleaver faction located in foreign countries as transmitted in your teletype 004, dated 17th of March 1971. Subject Black Panther Party, Cleaver faction, racial matters. The information in this report is being provided to you, to your bureau, with the understanding that it will receive no further dissemination other than to your appropriate field offices without the prior approval of this office, and that any reference to its internal bureau documents will state only that it was obtained from a confidential source with no mention of the office originating this report. And then there's all the code stuff down there at the bottom. It says, please transmit reply via cactus channel, whatever that means. So you got all these names here, codes, blah, blah, blah. Okay, four more. So this is only 2 pages. Return to CIA, background use only. More of this MH chaos stuff. It says headquarters 4525 of May of 73. Unbound past following report 5th of July from a source. Baboosh. Black Panther members George Wright, George Brown, Melvin McNair, his wife Jean Carroll McNair, and Joyce Rillerson, wife of George Wright, arrived in Paris from Algiers in late March. Henry Curiel's, clandestine organization has provided them lodging and training during their stay in France. The group is now trying to arrange plastic surgery and false documentation to permit their clandestine re-entry into the U.S. Unbound requests on urgent basis any available photos of above individuals to aid them in identifying them before surgery takes place. Please advise Unbound does not pass this info to legal attaché. And then let's see what else we've got down here. It says secret. I wonder if this is basically the same documents. It looks like the same thing. Yeah, I think it's just the same. It's just like duplicated. It's got the same names and stuff. Yeah, plastic surgery and false documentation. Okay, so we don't have to go through that. This one is restricted handling, classified message. This was from March 14th of 1973. It says Paris, eyes only, the Mollet. You've seen that name. Algiers, eyes only. Uh, from Nicer Train, Nice Certain, or in I Certain. At 10th of March, 1973, Paris, MTG Curial. And this has 4 pages. It says apparatus, uh, direction committee. Henry Curiel announced that apparatus participation in support of 6 American black militants and hijackers who were recently living in Algeria. Curiel said 3 of them, 2 men and 1 woman, now France, 2 women and 1 man, now in Switzerland. Those in Switzerland living in very precarious clandestine status and should be removed ASAP. Curiel said entire group determined return clandestinely to U.S. and continue revolutionary activity. Group convinced that before leaving Europe, they should accept political and ideological training. What? That's crazy. Okay. According to another sensitive source, hijackers in Algiers requested in mid-February 8 teacher the voyage documents for persons listed below. And Eldridge Cleaver, although he reported to have left Algiers early February, source believed Algerian government would provide travel documents. No info available, their destination or actual departure. Following our hijackers who were believed to be in Algiers as of mid-February. Above 6 may be from this group. It says William Holder, 201-902-920, aka Linton Charles White. Catherine Marie Kirkhow, common law wife of Holder. George Brown, aka Harold Singleton. George Edward Wright, aka Larry Darnell Burgess. Joyce Tillerson Burgess, 201. I don't want to read those numbers. Okay, wife of George Edward Wright. This is all secret, says this form for use by authorized restricted handling message user only. Interesting. And then Melvin McNair, there's his number, Jean Carol Allen McNair, and the wife of Melvin. It says, speculate hijackers left Algiers with true name, traded voyage documents, but may be using other documentation for residence purposes. Possibility that Holder, who's spokesman for group and head of international section of BPP in Algiers, may have remained in Algiers. No objection informing liaison that all or some paragraph 3 above may have left Algiers and that there are rumors that may be in France and Switzerland. Please inform LN Ergo, I guess, rep of substance of paragraphs 1 and 2 above and coordinate with him to avoid duplication with liaison. In response, LN Ergo request any info regarding the whereabouts of the hijackers, including activities and location. and travel. Please see HQs 3383, burn only, and HQs 3323, Paris only, for related info. And then whoever wrote this up. Okay, two more for this section. So this has 3 pages. This is from February 6th of 1973, restricted handling, classified message, secret. It says Algiers, eyes only, Birchinall, image chaos again, Algiers, FYI, and background only. Return to CIA, background use only, do not reproduce. It says George Lorenzo Matthews, also known as George Rice, was arrested late of December 72 by Tanzanian authorities who had mistaken him for hijacker George Edward Wright. When authorities determined he was not the hijacker, Matthews was released. Another source reports Wright actually was in Dar es Salaam at time of Matthews' arrest. Per recent inbreed report, BPP members Felix Lindsay O'Neill and William Holder recently visited Geneva, dates not given. Believed visit was prior to 15th of November of 72, providing that they traveled under true name documentation, as inbreed reportedly have instituted travel control measures for O'Neill and Holder on that date, and checking and will advise. And then whatever his little codes and stuff are. And then it says, per LN Ergo, confidential source report, dated 13th of December 1972, James Joseph Patterson was in France in company of one Nathan Burns, also known as Saku. Per LN Ergo, Burns is most probably identical to Nathaniel Jerome Burns. Per sensitive BK Herald asset, as of 31st of January 1973, Pete O'Neill and wife were living in Dar with 2 other unidentified BPP members. Conjecture these 2 may be Burns and Larry McNeil Mack, who left with O'Neill on the 23rd of September 1972, but have no positive identification. The comment, some of above may be possibly the result of alleged efforts O'Neill to spread confusion. Per paragraph 1, reference B, although with no present or indications confirming this suspicion, would appreciate station confirmation that Wright and Holder have traveled outside Algiers, and any other comments or observations regarding above alleged travels. And then whoever wrote this up, Jason Horn, and then these people. Okay, one more for this section. Restricted handling. So again, Dar es Salaam. This is from February 1st of 1973. Eyes only Kentner. And then Nairobi, eyes only Mastrom. And then more MH Chaos. Says appreciate reference A. It's first indication that Wright has traveled outside Algiers, and any additional details will be appreciated. HQ's checking further and will advise. RE reference B. HQ's trace reflects subject arrived Orly, France on 15th of August, 1970 from Algiers. No additional info. Checking further and will advise. Info and reference and comment in Dar es Salaam, 1142, are only reporting, including envy idea we have seen on subject of stolen passports. Agree with station per paragraph 3, reference B, and would appreciate any additional info and details the station can obtain. Equally interested in follow up on report unidentified BPP members living in apartment area, also allocated to unidentified Chinese advisors. Wow. It says, please cable dispatch number, and date pouched of survey. And then let's see what else is in here. I think this may be the same thing. I think it's just a duplicate. Did it say anything about stolen passports? Yeah, stolen passports. Okay. So I think it's just a duplicate of that same document. Yeah. So anyway, that is page 7 of the National Archives. That's the 10 documents or whatever that was listed in there. I already went through this last one here. But I mean, you can go in there and look at all this stuff. I mean, it's just interesting to me. I don't know why. I mean, I wasn't born back then, but it's kind of interesting to see some of the history. Excuse me. And then just reading through the legacy of ashes, the history of the CIA, some of the names are actually standing out. I didn't realize that about the Black Panther Party either, that they were like actually in Africa. I thought it was something just mainly here in the States. But anyway, like I said, I just think it's pretty interesting. I'll talk to y'all later. Like, share, and subscribe. Um, y'all have a good Friday. I may try to make some more recordings. I just got to figure a few things out. But anyway, talk to y'all later. Bye.